Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Depending on where you're joining us from, we have a global audience. It's the Classic Guitar Rock Daily Update. I'm Jeremy. Thank you for stopping by. If you don't follow us on X, formerly Twitter, what are you waiting for? At Classic Guitar R1. Follow us there. And then if you'd like to, you can subscribe there for just $1 a month. A few things in the news today. It's cold. Okay, that's the first thing. It's cold. It's like in the 30s. I'm not ready for it yet. Paul McCartney. This is from the Captain Obvious file. Paul McCartney said he always knew that the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band movie was going to fail. You think? Who remembers that? Late 70s? So they decide they're going to make a movie, and I think Robert Stigwood was involved. They're going to make a movie version of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band featuring Peter Frampton and the Bee Gees. And coincidentally, both of their careers kind of took a nosedive right after this. I don't know. Was it related? I don't know. I never saw the whole movie. The best thing about that movie was it gave us the Aerosmith version of Come Together, which is a great tune. This is probably blasphemy. I'd rather hear the Aerosmith version than the Beatles version. I'm just saying. But anyways, McCartney explained, this is on there's a podcast called Paul McCartney, A Life in Lyrics. He explained that he was certain it would flop because the band's songwriting, the Beatles' songwriting, was inspired by radio plays rather than TV or movies. Quote, you just get into it. You can see the characters as if you're in a room with them, he said, of listening to audio productions as a boy. For the imagination, radio was great. And as I met friends like John and George, we all hearkened back to that. It was very much our period. We grew up without television. So his point is, it's the whole thing, this whole thing of radio being the theater of the mind, right? When you hear something, or you could say the same thing about reading a book, you paint your own pictures, right? You have your imagination, and in your mind, you might be seeing something that you hear or read about completely different than someone else does. And then when you try and make that into a visual representation or a movie, doesn't always work. Now, sometimes it works. Obviously, many books have been made into movies, but McCartney just makes the point that he knew it wouldn't connect because they were missing that whole theater of the mind, imagination element. Another quote from Paul: "What I love is you get your own picture. This is why when they came to film Sgt. Pepper with the Bee Gees, I said, this is never going to work because everyone has their own image from Sgt. Pepper, the album. And so if you select one image, that's never going to be enough because your vision is different from mine." Interesting. And you know what? I think I agree. So how do you explain Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park? Oh, well. Speaking of the Beatles, the last ever Beatles song, Now and Then, will arrive next week. So remember back in the 90s, back in 94, 95, the Beatles released their anthology 1 and 2. And we got two new songs from that. There was Free as a Bird and what was the other one? Real Love. And they were good songs. Those were drawn from recordings Yoko actually had. This is one good thing Yoko did. She actually had some recordings of John, and that's how they were able to produce Real Love and Free as a Bird. And so they've done a similar thing here. So let's see. In 1994, this is from Blabbermouth. I think I'm reading this from Blabbermouth. In 1994, the three remaining Beatles gathered in the studio with producer Jeff Lynne to work on a couple of demo tapes Lennon had recorded before his death. given to the rest of the band by Yoko Ono. From these sessions came Free as a Bird and Real Love, which appeared on Anthology 1 and Anthology 2. Now and Then was also worked on at that time, but ultimately shelved. Close to 3 decades later, McCartney and Starr, the only two Beatles left, revisited the track with the assistance of Jackson. Is this Peter Jackson they're talking about? Who utilized the same demixing technology he'd used for the 2021 documentary The Beatles Get Back. Yes, so this is Peter Jackson. Jackson and his team were able to separate Lennon's vocal from the other sounds on the demo tape so that it could be properly remixed in a new song. One note here, McCartney plays the slide guitar solo on the completed Now and Then, but the acoustic guitar parts are by George Harrison, taken from the original mid-90s sessions with Jeff Lynne. So that's kind of cool. You know, the technology is here. We talked about technology yesterday, talking about holograms. But because of the way technology has advanced over the years, we're able to do kind of cool stuff like this. So that's kind of awesome. All right, moving on. This is kind of a he said, she said. This is the soap opera portion of today's update. Do you know who Ronnie Romero is? Ronnie Romero is a Chilean-born singer. He first burst onto the scene back in 2015, 2016. Let me take you back. One Richie Blackmore of Deep Purple and Rainbow fame, he put together a Rainbow reunion with a completely non-Rainbow cast of characters. So it was Richie Blackmore and a bunch of people you'd never heard of before, including a drummer with a mohawk. Okay. Graham Bonnet and Joe Lynn Turner, both live, both singing. Either of them could have come in and done the Rainbow reunion, but Ronnie didn't want to do that. Again, we've used the word mercurial for Richie Blackmore. He's mercurial. What that means is aloof. It's kind of hard to work with, right? So anyways, for whatever reason, he does a Rainbow reunion, which consisted of like 2 concerts, and he doesn't bring in Graham Bonnet or Joe Lynn Turner. He brings in this cat, Ronnie Romero. Here's the deal, guys. Ronnie Romero is awesome. Great singer. He can do the Dio stuff. He can do the Joe Lynn Turner stuff. He can do the Graham Bonnet stuff. Well, a lot of other people recognize how good this guy is. And so he's literally a part of like 10 different bands. Literally. And that's not an exaggeration. He's probably working with like 10 different bands. He was touring with Michael Schenker recently. The subject of this part of the update, the soap opera portion, is he did an album in 2020 with Adrian Vandenberg called Vandenberg 2020. It's a really good album. It's really good. Great album. It's, again, one of these Frontiers albums where they produce a great album and then never promote it or tour or do anything about it. But it is a really good album. Today, I want you to go out on Spotify or wherever you stream music and listen to the Vandenberg 2020 album. It is a really good album. Ronnie does a great job singing on it. So here's the subject of our update. Bad blood between Vandenberg and Ronnie Romero, which makes me sad because it would have been cool to see another album from these guys and possibly a tour. And it's a tour where it kind of fell apart here. Here's what Romero says. Quote, "I don't like when people tell you a version of a story just to show that they're cool. And if something happens, it's not my fault. It was because of somebody else. And I think it's not fair. It is not bad to tell the truth." So basically what this comes down to is they have the album, well-received album. It's a great album. They want to do more, right? They want to tour. They want to get together and work on more stuff. COVID happens. By the way, hello to my friend Eric Sharam. Eric Sharam, radio legend that I worked with way back in Oklahoma. He's chiming in on the chat. Eric, thank you so much. So they wanted to continue to work together, right? Well, as Romero is, kind of waiting for marching orders from the Vandenberg camp, he's working, right? He's doing an album with Michael Schenker. He's touring with Michael Schenker. And finally, Vandenberg says, yes, we will tour. We're going to do it. But you're touring with Schenker. How are we going to do that? Romero actually goes to the Schenker folks and says, guys, I want to do this tour with, they were wanting him to book more dates. He's done several dates with Schenker. They're wanting to book more, but he decides to leave MSG so he can do the Vandenberg thing based on Vandenberg telling him, yes, we're going to do a tour. So he quits Schenker, goes to Vandenberg, says, okay, I'm ready to tour. And then Vandenberg tells, well, yeah, we're going to go with a different singer. So Ronnie Romero, understandably so, upset. That's why they aren't working together. And that's not the story, according to him, that's not the story that Vandenberg is giving. So there you go. Now, here's all I want to say. I don't know Ronnie. I don't know Adrian Vandenberg, but there does seem to be a hint of drama around Ronnie Romero. This is not the first time I've seen comments from him where he's fallen out with someone, and there's been several accounts of this. So all I'm saying is there's two sides to every story, right? There's your side, there's my side, and then there's the truth, which is somewhere in the middle. And I think that might be kind of what's going on here, but does not change the fact that Ronnie Romero, great singer. And I would highly recommend it. Anything I've heard that this guy's done is really good. Again, he's involved in, I can't remember all the bands. Lords of Black, is that another band? He's in a bunch of bands. But you all know, if I haven't told you, I am a huge Michael Schenker fan, and seeing Ronnie on stage with MSG performing the classic Gary Barden, Graham Bonnet tunes, he can do it all. He's a great singer. So check out the Vandenberg album. Check out anything he's done. Even the stuff he did with Rainbow, even though it's a head scratcher that Richie reformed Rainbow without actually reforming it, right? He just brought in all new people. Ronnie's great, talented guy. So check him out. Last little update here. Pink Floyd. This is from the Fat Guys in the Basement Who Want to Spend More Money category. I won't name any names. There is a new Atom Heart Mother reissue available for Pink Floyd fans. Atom Heart Mother, interesting album. Interesting album. Not one of my favorites, but I mean, any album called Atom Heart Mother, I mean, you got to check that out. Pink Floyd has announced the release of a special edition of their 1970 album, Atom Heart Mother, the band's first ever #1 album. This will be released through Pink Floyd Records on December 8th. Now, here's what's cool. It was released in 2021 in Japan only. Now it's going for a worldwide release. It features footage of the Atom Heart Mother suite performed at Hakone Aphrodite Festival beside the Hakone Ashinoko Lake in Japan on August 6th and 7th, 1971. That was the first rock festival in Japan. And so they've got film. There's a copy of this film. By the way, this is kind of interesting. The original 16 millimeter film was discovered in a fan's garage. So there's this film rolling around. They're putting it together in various formats with various bits of memorabilia, just like we talked about yesterday with the Rolling Stones, how you can buy 43 different versions of their latest album. That's not an exaggeration. 43 different vinyl variants of the new album. So here's another thing that fat guys in their basement who want to shell out money for anything they can for their favorite band, I won't name any names, this is now available for you to add to your collection. Atom Heart Mother. It all comes out on December 8th. Man, I'm tired just talking about that. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. That's our update for today, and we will talk at you again tomorrow. Thank you so much. Live long.